fish. Whew, right there. They fight so hard, sometimes I think I've lost them. Trigger Spoon Jr., bright red, 1.8 to 2 miles an hour. Just getting it done, guys. Top probably 6 feet of the water columns where they're at, and they are chomping. Howdy folks, Cal Kellogg here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber and you like this content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification. You'll always know when I'm here talking about trout fishing. I've been out on the water a lot lately, but I also been splitting a lot of firewood, and I'm almost done with that job, which is good because we will be into the full-blown fall conditions here soon, and I'm going to fire up that fireplace. You know, I'm going to be cold, so I need to heat my house. The fish you saw me catch in the beginning of this video, that was a beautiful fish that I caught on one of my iconic yellow lead core rigs. And I've had a lot of questions about rods and reels and lines and stuff like that recently. Most recent question I got came from one of our really valued viewers and customers at the FHSfishing.com store. His name is Rusty, and he asked me, how am I spooling up my downrigger / top lining rods? And it was kind of funny he asked, because you know, Wes and I have been kicking it around, and we just made the full commitment to go with braided line on our downrigger rods, both our personal rods and the rods we use on the guide boat. Let me talk a little bit about how that works. I've got this rod rigged up. I'm getting ready to go to Folsom Lake. I've got it rigged up for battle. 10-pound test fluorocarbon leader right there. I have a 24-karat gold and chartreuse trigger spoon right there. I have that fluorocarbon leader working off, you know, my standard setup, a trolling swivel with a bead above it. The bead keeps that swivel from getting, you know, reeled into the eye of the rod. Sometimes in the heat of the battle, you know, that things can happen. So that bead prevents that from going into the eye of the rod. And it also gives me kind of a target to see in the water when I'm trying to net a fish in low light situations. But let's talk about what's on the reel. I'm not going to unspool this, but this is the rig we are going to be using on all of our rods this fall. It is spooled up with 15-pound test braided line, super braid. On top of that, I have about 25 feet of P-line CXX, 12-pound test, standard copolymer monofilament. That gives me some space between the braid and the lure, gives me about 25 feet. And then, as I showed you, I've got that trolling swivel there and the bead. People always have concerns about braid, excuse me, braid being compatible with downrigger clips, and I gotta tell you, we have not had a problem. It works with the high-end Chamberlain clips, and it also works with the old school Scotty clothespin type releases that I often use. It, you know, you often see me using it in the kayak and out on the boat. It works real well. Why would you want to use braid? Well, for one thing, it doesn't wear out like monofilament will. It's, you know, impervious to sun, to UV rays. It's very, very thin. It's very low stretch. It just works well. And that's why braid is being used in more and more applications. Over the last 25 years, braid has really changed the way we fish, whether I'm talking about saltwater jigging, you know, throwing a spinning rod a maximum distance, black bass anglers. Seems like everybody these days is using braid. And you know, us trout and salmon trollers, we're kind of the last holdouts. And I've been running it for a couple years now, on and off, and we are making the transition. You're also going to see us transition away from these Abu 5500s. We love the 5500, old school line counter. They work great, but we are going to retire them. We've been integrating some low profile black bass style reels into our spreads. We love the way they feel in our hands. Our customers love the way they feel in their hands. So we are gonna swing away from the Abu 5500s, and we're gonna start using those Daiwa Lexa 100s. We're gonna spool those up with 15-pound test braid. We're gonna run that top shot on them. We're gonna use those on the guide boat. We're gonna use those in our personal tackle. And it's time to make that change. That Lexa is a wonderful reel, and we are really looking forward to it. This reel I have spooled up with moss green braid. Wes likes to run a lot of yellow braid on his rods. Color is not an issue. If you want that high visibility braid, by all means, run with the white Power Pro, run with the yellow. If you want something a little more camouflage, go with that green color. Go with a black color maybe. The color's really not an issue to the fish because we have that 25-foot section of moss green P-line between the end of the braid and where I connect that trolling swivel. So that's not an issue. And frankly, as long as you have your lure connected to fluorocarbon leader material, they're not that concerned about the line. I haven't really been in a situation where I said, man, my main line is scaring the fish away. Have been in a situation where I needed to use fluorocarbon leader material to get hit, but I've never had an issue with the main line scaring the fish. So that's kind of the story there on my Downrigger rods. I know I answered Rusty's question, and if you guys been wondering about braid, maybe thinking about making a transition, by all means, join me. The advantages outweigh the disadvantages. The primary disadvantage of braid is it's more expensive than mono, but you're not going to have to spool up with it as often either. So right there, that's kind of an even trade-off, and I just like the way it performs. It just flat out fishes. It flat out works, and it's going to make your life easier out on the water. You're always going to have strong line in your reel that doesn't stretch a ton. It's good stuff. Let's talk about lead core a little bit. Okay, I'm back. It's one of my iconic lead core rods, one of my iconic yellow lead core rods. I designed this rod and this gold reel specifically for fishing my hybrid system of lead core. Hybrid system, what's that? It's braid backing followed with 3 colors of 12 to 15 pound test lead core line. On top of that, I have a 25 to 50 foot monofilament top shot, a fairly heavy mono, somewhere between 15 and 20 pound test. I bring that down to a trolling swivel and bead, just like on my Downrigger rod, and I attach my leader section to that trolling swivel. Now, the reason that I came up with the hybrid system is that I wanted something more nimble than the lead core rigs, our fathers and grandfathers used to fish with. Those guys would take a big saltwater reel, put 10 colors of lead core on it, and it'd be big and cumbersome, and they caught a lot of fish on them, but I wanted something lighter and more responsive. I wanted something that I could use when the fish were in the top, 15 to 20 feet of the water column max. And the hybrid rig works really well for that. If you're not familiar with lead core, the rule of thumb is lead core line changes color every 30 feet, every 10 yards. And every one of those colors will get you down approximately 5 feet in the water column. So if you hear someone say, I'm running 2 colors of lead core, they're fishing about 10 feet deep. One of the problems you'll encounter this time of the year is the fish are no longer super deep. They're not down at 60 feet where you'd be running your Downrigger, but they're not up in the top 15 or 20 either. They like to move up initially and hang out there at about 30 feet deep. You could certainly use your Downrigger for that work, but maybe you want to integrate a second or third rod. Like when I'm in my kayak, I'll often be running my Downrigger this time of the year, but I want to integrate a second rod. Maybe I need to get down to 25 or 30 feet with that rod. I'm not going to do that with my regular hybrid rig, but a couple years ago, I was out at Bucks Lake and I had kokanee in that depth range. I was running my Downrigger, but I wanted to run a second line. Kokanee were down, 25, 30 feet. So what did I do? Grab my lead core rig and I put on a 1/2 ounce sinker, and I was able to get down to those fish with 3 colors of lead core out. I wasn't trailing a ton of line behind the boat, but I was able to get the depth I needed. Well, since then, I've been rigging up these 1 ounce torpedo weights. I put a swivel at the top end of the weight using a split ring, and I put a trolling swivel on the back end of the weight also using a split ring, and I insert this in my rig between the trolling swivel that's hooked to the end of my main line and my leader. Now, using that 1 ounce weight, I am able to get down to 30, 35 feet while only running 3 colors of lead core. Shorter line is better. You don't want it strung out there 200 feet behind your boat or kayak. So that 1 ounce sinker allows me to get a little bit more depth, actually significantly more depth, while still using lead core, while still using my yellow lead core rod. The system flat out works, and this addition of this 1 ounce weight makes it even more versatile because it gives me a little bit more depth without integrating, you know, more lead core line on the reel or having more lead core line out on the water, in the water, because it's going to sink. So that's an addition you might consider for this transition time of the year. You're going to utilize this 2 times of the year. You're going to utilize it as summer gives way to fall and the fish start to move up, but they're not in the surface water yet. You're also going to use it in the late summer as the fish start to drop down. They're not deep yet, but they're no longer right under the surface. They're no longer in that top 15 to 20 foot range. So just something to think about, an easy project. Grab some of those 1 ounce torpedoes, rig them up, keep them in your tackle box, and when you want to fish that, you know, that transitional zone anywhere from say 20 to 30, 35 feet deep, you'll have a sinker to integrate on your lead core rig, and you'll be able to get down just a little bit deeper. I'm Kel Kellogg. I'm out of here for now. If you were looking for rods, reels, iconic yellow lead core rods, trigger spoons, and more, you know where to go. FHSfishing.com. We got what you need. We'll ship it out quick, and you'll be out on the water yelling fish on before you know it. We're here to help you catch more and bigger fish. Thanks for tuning in. And on Sunday, you will see me out on the water with the legendary Big Nate of Big Nate's Guide Service. We got out on his boat this week with a bunch of his clients. We had a good time. We had a ton of laughs. And man, Nate put 2 really, really big rainbows in the boat. They looked like steelhead. They were just phenomenal fish. So look forward to that on Sunday morning, and I will catch you next time right here on YouTube. That guy's sawing down there. Better him than me. I'll catch you next time, guys. Thanks a ton.